And the question I ask myself is, why is compliance such a problem in India? I thought we'd look for more fundamental answers, and let's see if this makes any sense to you. The way I see it, there are three reasons why we are reluctant to comply in India. And I put them down as the historical experience that we have had as a society, the cultural paradigm in which we operate, and the structure of the laws that we deal with. Let's take the first. Now, much of this is North Indian. There's a bias here, but I'm sure the South Indian experience is not so different. This is a big country. What did we have in North India? Competing feudal states dominating. In the south and in central India, there were competing states, very little ones. The North first experienced Afghan rule in 1206. That's 800 years of uninterrupted foreign domination. Okay, which means that in all this period, the local people were more or less alienated from their rulers. The British came about in about 1750. They dominated India by 1830, 1840. India tried, some elements of India tried to get them a piece of the action back in 1857 and failed. So, when you're a colonized society, it's very difficult to see yourself as part of the national decision-making mainstream. And you can't wipe that history away because you call yourself independent for 50, 60 years. I think we need to think about this. Now, what did these people really do when they were here? And I don't have an agenda on the British. Anybody who's English here? Ouch. Okay, no, you were better than some of the others, but you were probably better than some of our own. But East India Company, maximized profit, inflicted misery, the Great Bengal famine, 10 million dead, 1 in 3. You know why there was a rise in the number of man-eating tigers in India? Because the dead bodies were all over. So when Mr. Jim Corbett was killing off those tigers, he was doing it for the policies that the British were following. Direct empire since 1858. We exported primary goods, we imported cotton manufactured goods, we decimated local industry. We reduced people to penury. Independent India, what did we do? We just replaced one set of colonizers with another. Okay? The British institutions, governance structures, bureaucratic attitudes, nothing changed. Then on top of that, to add insult to injury, we import this pseudo-socialistic claptrap where we try to control the commercial impulse of the people. We create something called a license quota permit Raj. Basically, we are the worst case of post-colonialism you've ever seen anywhere in the world. So what is government then? So they are not enablers, they are a hindrance. They are your biggest problem. And you are expected to go laughing, complying all the way and telling yourself how great you are as a citizen, etc., etc. Rubbish. So, what is our post-independence historic experience now? First, the concept of a nation is still emerging. I'm not so sure we truly see ourselves as a nation in all ways. I mean, with every decade it gets better. So this concept of India as a society is still embryonic. We are still to grow as a country. There is no social contract. You remember Rousseau back from your political science classes? The consent of the governed and the social contract, it doesn't exist in India. 3, politics is still seen as a war for control of resources. It's groups coming together, winning elections, and trying to grab the largest piece of the pie, keeping everybody else out of it. Now, what are laws but tools created by dominant elites to capture all the resources and deny everybody else? This is how we see the law. So when you talk about compliance, the question is complying to whose agenda? Now, so when you talk to your little employee and you try to contextualize this, what is being discussed on an intellectual level here, the constructs are fantastic, but what does it translate to for the guy who's dealing with the law on a daily level? And how are you going to get from this point to that point and convince him that what's good for the dominant elites is probably good for him too. Because he knows he's never going to be elite. Then we have this cultural thing. Now this is again biased. This is very Hindu biased, but I don't actually believe that any religion is free of any other. We all learn from each other. Most of us who've ever been in love really are relying on Urdu Muslim culture, and I don't think we love in a different way for that reason, because we are not from that religion. So religion is really, we're all meshed up together. We are really one people in that sense. Now we have a 5,000-year-old living culture. We have had a lot of alien cultures, okay? Macedonians, Huns, Mongols, Turks, Afghans, English. We've assimilated all of this. We've become a society that has managed to not find itself in conflict with all these cultures. We actually assimilated them, became a part of their thinking. Our way of dealing with this whole business is to grow slowly and change slowly and evolve slowly. This is one of the reasons why we had what Professor Raj Krishna called the Hindu rate of growth. What is the Hindu rate of growth? It's limiting the amount of social change you are prepared to inflict upon yourself because you hate conflict. Okay? So, on top of that, we are a multi-tribal society still. Who are you? I'm a Baniya. Who are you? I'm a Brahmin. Okay? Who do we get married to within our community? What rights do we follow? Oh, she's marrying a South Indian guy. God, he's going to come dressed without any shirt. You know, we are a multi-tribal society. My totems are not your totems. My gods are not your gods. My religion is only vaguely your religion. My rites and rites of passage are not yours by any means. Even my festivals are not your festivals. Okay? You have this Onam thing I don't understand. I understand Diwali. I understand Lakshmi. Yeah? So, where do we find our community? It's in Biradari. The community. So when you talk about compliance, and we are not one nation, we are not one society, you talk about compliance, complying with whose laws? So you've got all that cultural stuff going on inside the people you're dealing with. So, and where does my loyalty lie? Equal opportunity law. Like, he's my uncle from my village. He just rang me up and said his nephew needs a job. I can't say no. That's absurd. My whole legitimacy as a human being depends upon what I can do for my guys. Yeah? This is daily reality. So if you're going to talk about compliance, then please tell me how you're going to transcend this. And there is no concept, and this is the hardest part to grasp. There is no concept of universal morality. When Arjun goes and tells Lord Krishna, you know, I don't feel like killing my uncles. They said, you're a warrior. It's your job, just do it. Yeah? So, a doctor heals. Actually, I don't know about doctor heals. A doctor's job is to maximize the bottom line of the nursing home he's living in. If he has to do an unnecessary procedure, damn, you know, it's good for the company. It's always about the money, honey. So we don't come from a Protestant Anglo-Saxon ethic. And much of this construct here is in that ethic. And how we are going to transcend from where we are to there, or should for that matter, is not clear to me at all. So what we have is a mismatch between culture and compliance, and the next 2 days somebody figure it out, educate me. Okay? Now, post-independence political experience, does something more need to be said on this subject? The socialist command economy rhetoric is only intended to extort money. Now, anybody wants to argue this point, you know, there's excellent chicken curry outside, I'll do it with you. But I suspect there are no takers. Okay? The biggest problem in India, and this is something nobody talks about, is that there's no legitimate way to fund elections. So how do we do it? We all know how we do it. Who is paying it? Businesses. So if you think about it, corruption, all very well, I understand corruption, Baba, but the point is, how are you going to fund your democracy? Unless you address that issue, don't waste your time talking to me about corruption. Find a legitimate way to fund it, then it's no more necessary to be corrupt. Well, no, I mean, there will always be somebody else looking for an upside, but then you can seriously deal with it. Right now, you have to lie. Because you need to fund that democracy. Or give up on democracy, let's appoint ourselves a nice gun-toting cowboy who will also extort money, of course. So, What does business do? We purchase tax rates, we purchase policy changes, because these business houses have been built on this. That's how the terrain is. You come to a cricket field, no, you come to a football field, and you want to play cricket. And you have these 2-day conferences where you discuss cricket. But this is a football field, they kick your shins in. So can we at least deal with reality? And then it gets really tough to discuss this subject. However, so far we've only discussed the Kolavari D, or is it Kolavari Da? Da, right? But there's both genders here. There is good news. We are slowly developing institutions to combat these unethical practices, but it takes a certain amount of corporate clarity and a very high cost. Now, for instance, in Noida, which is on the east side of Delhi, every business has to provide 2 jobs to every major department.